Good evening. I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and this is Street Talk. I want to say to all my viewers, thank you as usual for allowing me into your home and visiting with you and for following us. So we really appreciate it at Street Talk. We really appreciate all the viewing that you seem to be doing on our latest shows, and especially around the race relationships and the show we did with Bruce Morris. Representative Morris has been really highlighting on YouTube and on our Street Talk site. It's got more hits than I think anything else right now this week, over 7,000 already. So really want to thank you for your interest in that, and please stay with us. The other thing I want to, as I always do, I want to say hello to all my local people that are out there in New London and thank them, and we pray for all of you who are having problems and that are sick, and I know you pray for us, and we say hello to Bobby and Darren, and we have Stephen that right now is in Yale Hospital undergoing an operation, and our prayers are up for Stephen and all our community here, okay, that follow us and have been loyal listeners to us now for 13 years, I guess, and we're real sorry about our mayor who's having most difficulty. Michael Passero scolded me a little, said I should back off, and I said, well, why should I back off, Michael? He said, you know, Father, you never kill a man who's committing suicide. So, to you, Mr. Finozio, God bless you, and if you're not around tomorrow and you moved out of the city, you know how I feel about it. Good luck, okay? Aside from that, I have a great guest with me on his return, okay? Now he's done now several shows with me this week, Michael Maynard. God bless you, Michael. And of course, Michael is a journalist and a writer and among other things, right?
This week, yes.
This week, yes, right?
Yes. You never know next week.
You never know what's going on, right?
Yes.
But you're down from Boston with me.
I'm down from Stowe, Mass, yes.
Yeah, right. You're down from Stowe, Mass. You did sister show, Town Talk, with Kathy Johnson. Okay, and I'm sure that's up and that's up and going around probably before this show hit the news.
Well, Kathy's wonderful. She's very outgoing. She's very opinionated. We had a very good discussion yesterday about women's rights and women's relations.
Right.
And fortunately, because that's an area that you and I know nothing about.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. Especially me.
Well, between the two of us, we have a history, yes,
yeah, right.
As far as that goes. So, no, Kathy is kind of a natural, and she will do very well.
Yeah, she's a great gal, and of course I deal with her in the disability sections and advocacy, and she's a joy. She was a really joy to meet, and so happy that she's part of our coalition, and a really great lady. I really do love you, Kathy, because I know she watches our stuff.
Yeah. Well,
what's the issue of the day? I know we started to talk about what's.
Well, we've had we had a little back and forth between us about the issue of the death penalty, and in the greater Boston area, everybody has been riveted with the two murder cases, right. The Aaron Hernandez and the Dokar Zarnev case. The Hernandez case being a state case. He can only be sentenced to life in prison, not death penalty, but Zarnev, being a federal case, is now going through the penalty phase of the trial. And so the question is he going to be life imprisonment or the death penalty?
I was confused on that. I thought because of where he was being tried, that he would be exempt from the death penalty. No. My mistake, and I'm usually on that stuff, right? And I've been so busy, I didn't, I didn't follow that as closely. He's under the federal.
Well, he's under federal because my understanding is it's a terrorist act.
It's a terrorist act. That's right. Of course, I knew that, and I know all about that, but I wasn't following the sentencing that much, and I was obviously as a Bostonian, I was really, I was really, really concerned. Okay, and as a one who comes from a family of first responders, some of whom were right there, close. My cousin's son and daughter, and one of my cousins were very, very close to when it went off. And then when they went after them, of course, my brother was called out. My brother's a sheriff now a sheriff, and was part of the the group that went after them. It really, I mean.
Well, it was a tragic event. Normally, I don't watch television during the day while I'm working, but I have it on for the Boston Marathon, and and you expect the normal Boston Marathon. I've attended. It's a wonderful spring event.
Great event.
Great.
I got girls that are runners, and me too. And everything.
And then all of a sudden, boom. And it got me to reflect on the issue. I was having a conversation with an attorney friend of mine, Judy Wayne, and we were going back and forth. She's a trial lawyer, going back on this and saying, we're both conflicted about the subject, whether or not he should receive the death penalty. Now, on the one hand, we're both raised in you and I are both raised in the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church is very adamant about that.
Right.
And I'm not bloodthirsty by any extent of the imagination, but in going back and starting to write about this and doing my research and looking at the videos, what truly bothered me about this is that Tsarnaev made the decision about where to plant the bomb, the backpack bomb, for maximum effect. He planted it right in back of the Richard family, and the Richard family lost mother and daughter, mother and son, and the daughter is badly injured. The Richard family has testified in the trial phase, and I believe they've testified in the penalty phase, and they've come out and asking for him to be life imprisonment. As Judy Wayne says, that even if it is the death penalty, with appeals and through the appeal process, it would be another 14 years.
I was just going to say 11 to 14 years, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
But then the secondary issue is, at what expense? He's 21 years old. He's going to be spending a life in prison, and that's going to be in the millions of dollars over the course of his lifetime to be holed up in a small little cell with bare amenities, getting his 3 meals a day. So, what's the balance here?
Well, we're looking at this as a deterrent. I mean, it sends a clear message to terrorists. Because we are talking at the terrorist level. We're not talking about your average killer, murderer, or whatever. We're talking about individuals that tried to terrorize the country, which they did. There's no question about it. The fear, people still have a lot of fear. A lot of people didn't go to the things this year and are afraid of events because of these individuals that are seeking to terrorize the country. So I think that raises it to a different level.
Well, yeah, and Tsarnaev is Muslim.
That's right.
From Kyrgyzstan, and which
but
does
McVeigh wasn't.
Well, McVeigh wasn't, but and what McVeigh did was equally heinous.
Exactly right. Yeah, right.
If not more, he blew up the Oklahoma City.
He blew up the Oklahoma City
federal building.
Yeah, 160 some odd people killed.
Right.
And with babies too. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, right. But this guy tried to do basically similar.
Very similar.
Yeah.
But
I don't care about the religion.
Well, I know, but it does. But given what's going on in the Middle East, it does raise another aspect of it. And if he's charged with the death penalty, can it be used given that ISIL is recruiting in the United States for recruits, can that be used as part of the training, or the promotion to get new recruits from the United States? Can it be used for fodder to create another incident in the United States? These are issues that we haven't really dealt with a whole lot. And
yeah, but either or, whether he's dead or alive, you can use they're going to use they're going to use what he did. They're going to promote him as a hero. Either way, okay? But marginalized people, okay? Marginalized people thinking about going down this avenue. See, people can't tell me it's not a deterrent. Okay? Because if you're thinking about going down this avenue, you're talking about death, ending your life. If you get away with it, you're gonna go. You're a dead person.
Well, I don't know which is worse, and one of the issues is if he is sentenced to the death penalty, does he become a martyr in the eyes of the Muslim world, of many in the Muslim world, that here is the United States, fighting in the Middle East, and with the history of what's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places, he becomes a symbol and can be used to say that, look, here's this great United States, and who claims to be the bastion of freedom and liberty, but they're going to put our brother to death. Well, and it also raises the issue is that, or could be used for the issue of persecution of Muslims.
Nobody's nobody's persecuting him. In fact, you can look at the history of what they did, his schooling and everything else. There is no way you can build a persecution argument against these individuals that blew up our people at our event. And he didn't attack a military installation. They went out deliberately and attacked civilians for terroristic reasons. That's like saying Bonnie and Clyde are they're heroes to bank robbers.
Well, I know that,
to me,
Russ,
in my opinion.
Yes, Russ, and from that standpoint, we're in agreement.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I'm being the devil that, I'm coming on hard on this one, right?
Right. Well, but we're viewing it from our perspective here. It's also a question of how does it play in the rest of the world.
Well, see now, I really, in this particular instance, I don't care. I care about what my people see me doing to protect our nation against clowns like this that are going to attack our civilian population. Now, if he attacked the military, I might have a different view, because warrior to warrior, I mean, I have a belief, warrior to warrior, okay, but to go out and to... From a mafia perspective, I hate to tell you, there's a big difference between somebody who goes out and deals with the level of stuff that you're dealing with that is criminal, and then goes into civil society and kills some innocent people that had nothing to do with what you're doing. I mean, that's the kind of view that I come up with, and I say, everybody's going to find out what. Yes, I think they need to go and get rid of this individual and kill him, and that's my belief. So because of that, but that's where I'm coming from.
Well, but that's why I'm ambivalent about it. The fact that he targeted the Richard family, the fact that he saw he saw the young family there enjoying themselves, and decided deliberately to put the knapsack behind them. That's heinous. Now the question. Sorry, folks. The question.
No, Micah's here. That's why. Okay, we have our surprise guest that's coming. Who was late and everything else, and our wonderful crew that is always good with me, that helped me. Joe and Reggie are trying to take care of me, and they're going to try and sneak Mike in here. So I think you okay,
Yeah,
and that's what's going to. and that's what's going to happen. So that's what's going on, folks. And you all know my wonderful guest who's going to be with us, joining us, Mike Linard. Okay, he's on the way. Okay. And he's probably going to step right in front of the cameras and everything else, right? As we try, there he goes, right in front of Father. There we go. Okay. Joe has done so good. We're talking about Michael. What we're doing is we're talking about the Boston bombing, the marathon, and enunciation of the name.
Tsarnaev.
Tsarnaev. I want to add something else with the way the spelling is, right? But it is Tsarnaev. Okay, and in this particular incident, for the death penalty. I think they should whack the guy. Okay, killed innocent people. In fact, my family, first responders, were very close to what happened in this situation. My brother was with the group that went out to get him at night, who was a sheriff in Massachusetts. He blew up people, and as far as I'm concerned, any terrorist that does that any place deserves the death penalty when we get him. And of course, we're not sure. Michael is ambivalent to the situation, and of course we're taught that you don't seek revenge, and
well, we're taught not to seek revenge.
We're not to seek revenge.
Yes, forgiveness.
And all that stuff. Well,
yes,
in this
and redemption.
And redemption.
Yeah.
Well, here's where you know what I mean? Here's where my stuff comes off, you know. Oh, maybe, I don't know, maybe God will take care of him and he'll die in his prison cell.
Well, I'm British, so I come from a different perspective on this.
Okay.
In Britain, we stopped the death penalty. I think it was in the sort of early 60s.
Even for terrorists? There's no exemption in England?
No, none whatsoever. There just is no death penalty at all.
Well, maybe that's why Scotland wants to break from you guys. You know?
They've shown no inclination of wanting to restate it. You know?
Is there,
But you know, that's just a blanket. You know, it comes up every now and again in Parliament for a vote, and it's normally 1,000 to 1.
You guys are going to get against me on this, right? And you know, I just started thinking about Shire.
There's lots of reasons why.
In Germany, some of the Nazis that didn't get executed, that died in prison and stuff like that. Those should have killed. As far as I'm concerned, I would have done I would have done it myself.
Well,
forgive me, Lord. See, that's why Jesus is my straitjacket. Because you wouldn't want me loose.
Well, there's 14 states that in the United States who do not have the death penalty. Massachusetts and Connecticut are two of them.
Only 14.
Only 14.
Yeah.
Last year there was somewhere around 800 people that were executed. And we can get, there's been a lot written about how problematic the application of the death penalty has been. That they found there's situations where using the electric chair doesn't work. Then the issue of the injection of the drugs.
That's right.
And that hasn't always worked. And now the pharmacies, the compounding pharmacies in Europe, will not sell into the United States because they're being used for the death penalty.
I happen to know what works.
Well,
I know what works.
Well,
okay?
that's being tried in Utah.
Okay, but across the states, I mean, I voted against the death penalty here in Connecticut, and was one of the leaders that was in the coalition to oppose the death penalty here in Connecticut, and we went through a real struggle here, and I understood all the complications. But my reasons here was because it's of equal application. I also voted against the death penalty in Massachusetts when, I was a resident at the time that they did that. Okay, but. Okay, saying that, I think terrorism is at a different level. I mean, that is the thing about terrorism is to go after a group of civilians from another group and to blow up these unarmed, innocent people to inflict serious fear on the rest of the community. And I think that needs to be handled in a different way. Now, I might not get my way, but that's, and I'm also, of course, England should. I mean, they did enough horrible things way back when. Maybe they're feeling guilty.
And it's not your fault, Mike, too.
And it's not your fault.
Yes, it is.
I don't deny the dark,
The dark ages.
the dark history
The dark history.
of the British Empire.
Yeah, the British Empire, right. Exactly.
But all I can say is from my perspective, I lived with it most of my life in the 60s. Just the public got tired of the errors and, innocent people dying. And they just decided that, it's not something that
Yeah, I
they
mean,
want
you
to
were
do.
in the Troubles, right? You were right there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When all that, I mean, talk about terrorism,
IRA, yeah.
IRA and stuff like that, right? That's right. You were brought up right in.
Oh, no, I was...
Yeah.
You had one bomb early on in the Troubles that killed about 30 people in a pub.
In a pub.
In
Just having a
Birmingham.
beer.
Yeah.
Good.
And they caught what they thought were the people on the ferry back to Ireland, subjected them to the usual sort of treatment.
Yeah.
And
They wish they were dead.
had a kind of trial, put them in prison, and then 15 years later were proved to be,
The wrong ones.
not the people who did it. And, and since then, in actual fact, the real bombers have said, they were long gone.
Yeah, and we just recently saw about
But they were put in prison for 15 years, so they were able to be released as innocent. Had we had the death penalty, it probably all would have died.
Yeah, well, you can't necessarily trust all the scientific evidence. We just saw about the FBI crime labs, and that the hair analysis. Well, including at one time, at one point, they introduced dog hair as human hair, but they found that 95% of the time that the FBI crime lab trumped up the level of certainty about the hair analysis. Now, in the case of Tsarnaev, there's video.
Yeah, exactly right.
There's no question about whether or not he did it.
Yeah, no kidding. They traced all over the place, followed.
And there's DNA evidence and all the rest of it.
Right.
Everything.
He's nailed.
There's no question that he's guilty.
Right.
The question is what to do with him.
Exactly.
And the consequences of what's to do with him. Now, personally, what bothers, well, yes, the whole business with the Martin family bothers me. But also what bothers me is the fact that we will be spending millions and millions of dollars on this individual, whom you rightly mentioned, got very favorable treatment while he was here, he and his family.
Oh, yeah.
They got public assistance, they got
college assistance and everything. You couldn't, most of our own people don't get the level of treatment and support that they got.
Right.
College, financial treatment, because he was in Massachusetts, which is very liberal with that.
Well, he also got the very best defense attorney for death penalty cases, handling his case. So he's been given every benefit of the doubt.
Right.
The question is, which is worse? To have him in this little 4x6 cell, spending the rest of his days, 23 hours a day in it, and 1 hour outside and making 15-minute phone calls a month, or to terminate his life. And I don't know which is the better solution, and I don't know which is the more merciful solution in this case.
Obviously, it's very difficult, and as I said, Jesus is my straitjacket. Okay, he's going to spend either or, he's going to be 14 years, he's going to spend his life for the next, either he's going to spend there the rest of his life there, or he's going to spend at least the next 11 to 14 years on appeal that he's going to be alive, and he's going to be used by the terrorist community as a hero. He is a hero to them right now. I mean, I make him a martyr. Osama bin Laden, I would have done the same thing as the president said. Hit the man, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, but I just know my own nature. You know, I'm gonna take him out. He's a serious threat to all our population, all our innocent population. That's my real problem. Is I see a big difference between your local murderer and your rapist and your other thing, between somebody who is a warrior. We're talking about a warrior deliberately heading to another place with the deliberate action not to kill military. That bothers me more than anything. That enrages me. But I'm going to go after the innocents to scare the whole population. It's all about the deliberate action of fear. The bigger, the better. I hate to say it, I could be a great terrorist, I think. As some people have told me that I'm sick, but you know.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and in Europe and in Great Britain, they've gone through recent events. In Paris, we had the Charlie Hebdo situation. Another bombing, another.
Journalist against guys like you.
Well, I can't blame him for that, but.
Well, I might not have.
No,
I accept that, please.
But you're right. But they did it to maximize the degree of fear.
Of what you might write.
What you might write.
Exactly right.
And so, how the French and the rest of Europe handled it has been very swift and very thorough.
I like swift and thorough.
But we have a different standard here in the United States. Yeah. We do. We have a different standard which is beyond all reasonable doubt. And I give the defense attorney credit that she's gone out of her way to try and establish a reasonable doubt. I know Russ. And I have the same issue as far as that goes.
I know.
And that's part of the ambivalence.
Well, it's serious. Yeah, right.
But you're certain. The majority of people are not certain about this, about what to do, what's the best thing, and what it represents. What it represents for us as people to do that.
I guess maybe go ahead, Mike.
You've actually got to separate. I think you've got to separate the act, which is the actual bombing and the killing, and then try and separate that from the motivation. What was the motivation?
What was his reason?
What was behind it? Who was he representing? What is the cause that he's trying to?
Oh, I think that is really clear. I don't think there is any remorse. I think he is clear on it. Even his writing.
No,
in the
but I'm
boat.
saying they're Chechen.
Yeah,
they're Chechens.
Yeah, he's real
But
clear.
who are the Chechens? The Chechens were persecuted by Russians. The Chechens are Islamic.
Yeah, I know.
Essentially.
Yeah, exactly right. But I don't care about his religion. And I don't care the reason. I dismiss all that. I look at it from a criminal standpoint. I do. I look at it, okay, if I'm going to go rob the bank, okay.
Well, that's what it is, because it's in a civilian court.
Yeah, but when I go
it's not a terrorist act, it's a
No, it's a terrorist act.
No, it is a terrorist act.
It's a terrorist act. He's charged under the terrorist act. Oh,
right.
no.
Right.
He's not.
But in a civilian court.
No, it's
No, it's federal court. He's in federal court.
No, but that's a civilian court.
No, yeah, but that's...
Well, yes, it's not a military court.
It's
Yes.
not a military. No,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, the military court would end the whole situation. He could death penalty there, seriously.
Yeah, a lot more quickly,
And
too.
very fast,
Yeah.
exactly right. But he's in federal court, okay, that's where he is. So I look at it as a criminal act. So when I think about that, when I go out to rob a bank, and whatever I'm going to do, when I was doing bad things, okay, I understood that there could be a possibility of me getting in a firefight and me, okay, somebody getting between me and the money with another gun and everything else. And guess what? That's what I carried a gun for. I knew that if I had the gun out of the thing, guess what? I'm going to take that person out. Over my life, all I want is the money.
But that's the argument for getting rid of the death penalty. Yeah, that's the argument.
For it?
No.
Against it?
Yeah.
Against getting rid of it?
No, Mike is saying it's for getting rid of it.
It's for. That's the argument for getting rid of it. If you don't have the death penalty hanging over your head when you're in the commission of a crime, then you're not going to necessarily be carrying a gun so that you're not caught. Because you're not.
Well, the death penalty has been proven not to be a deterrent to crime or murder in any case. Come on, Russ.
What you're talking about is
here's what I got to say. When you look at where death penalty things are, you have less guys like me go. I'm going to rob an estate that's got no death penalty. I'm going to start, okay, people think criminals are stupid. Now, of course, now you do not have the amount of robbers you had in my day. They're not there. They cleaned up Charlestown, Massachusetts, the center of bank robbers and armed robbers in the country. So lots of them are in jail, although they're still working on Canada, okay, where guys are cut. But they're limited crews. They're not like they were in my day. They're just not. You get imbecile bank robbers now that do it. They need a druggy thing. They go in for $4,000 and they get 13 years. They're so stupid. But they're a different type of person. This person is more like me and my type of organizational. He's deliberate. They were deliberate. He was trained. He was educated. They knew what they were doing. And they went after citizens. If they went after military,
okay. Well, we had two trials going on concurrently.
Right.
Now, to me, the second trial was more heinous in one sense. You had Aaron Hernandez, a very popular and very rich professional football player for the New England Patriots.
Gang
member. Killed his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
He's also accused of killing two others. There'll be a second trial.
Right.
But the fact that it's a civil, it's not a federal case, no death penalty. So he is life in prison.
Right. And you know what I see the difference is? It was between them, gang members. That's exactly what I'm saying. They weren't going after civilians. He didn't kill civilians, even if he killed the other ones. It was related to what he was doing. It would be like what I would be doing. I'm talking about when I was a young man and a kid to my audience out there. I had somebody said, you were dangerous, Father. Well, maybe. But this is the thinking. I am telling you the thinking behind clowns like I was myself. That is a personal, interrelated, gang-to-gang or stuff versus going after private citizens that are innocent.
Okay.
There's a difference to me.
Yes, but there's also a secondary issue, which is evidence. Okay, does our name?
Yeah.
Okay, it was questionable whether Hernandez was going to
Did
be
it?
found guilty.
Right. Oh, yeah,
did it.
very good. Right.
But he was found guilty
You'll
on all
never
charges.
find me guilty of that stuff, I hope.
I think we have enough evidence on
Do you understand where I'm coming from? I mean, you were in the military. I mean, but even in the Troubles, right? Wasn't that about more military to military? And then they went to civilian stuff.
No, the IRA. I mean, anything was a legitimate target as far as they were concerned.
Oh, okay.
Everything. And they bombed relentlessly throughout the UK. I lived through the whole thing.
I know you did.
So, and the only thing that stopped it, literally the only thing that stopped it, was when Tony Blair was elected. And as soon as we got the Republicans, or the Conservatives, they call them there, out of the way, then you could start talking to them. You could start talking to the provisional IRA. And eventually we brought in Senator Mitchell,
Yeah.
the US Senator,
US,
George
right,
Mitchell for Maine.
yeah, to oversee the negotiations. And basically it stopped then.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying, coming back to my point, is that the Tsarnaev incident is one of an endless list of incidents to do with problems associated in other parts of the world. And until those are resolved, the Tsarnaev incident will potentially happen all the time. And I'm amazed that there hasn't been more. Probably the FBI and the CIA have thwarted dozens and dozens of them.
Right, I agree.
And they're petrified. There was a headline in USA Today yesterday about ISIL that all the various agencies are going flat out, trying to identify and using all the various techniques because they're concerned of an ISIL attack in the United States. And ISIL is very aggressively recruiting, particularly in social media, particularly through their own little propaganda videos to recruit people to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, what happens if there's another incident? And the public's in an uproar. I don't know. It's because it is not so cut and dried. If the evidence, like in the Tsarnaev case, was overwhelming, you can make a case. But we see too many incidents where the evidence is flawed, or it's been tampered, or there are issues with it. You're involved in one of those with Ralph Ham.
Oh, yes, I am. Yeah, exactly right.
So,
yeah,
okay.
right.
So what's going on with Ralph's situation? And we found, there are various stories that have come out about other people who have been put on death row for years and years and years.
And are innocent. I understand. I do, but I see them as different, very, very different entities. I mean, you're talking about the police in Ralph's case, where they took the two older guys and they threatened them and through affidavit. In fact, one of them got released because of the proof. The police in New York and Massachusetts threatened the guy and put a gun to his head and told him they were going to kill him. And they said, well, of course, Ralph did it. Ralph, because he was the kid. Okay, and they were not. They were not. Well, and again, but I see that very, very different than a terrorist, deliberate terrorist act. I just view it in a very different circumstances.
Well, there are those.
And I want them dead.
Well, there are those out there.
You know what I mean?
There are those out there who don't believe that Tsarnaev did it. There's a whole conspiracy group out there. Not Mike, but there's a whole conspiracy group out there.
We got them on film. They got them from one place to the other place to the other place.
I understand all that, Russ.
I mean, if whatever they think, God bless them. But
there's groups out there who believe this is a false flag operation.
You know what?
And a false flag operation is supposed to be deliberately created by the United States government for propaganda reasons,
Good.
generally to create fear in the rest of the world. And it's nonsense. But there are those people in the U.S. and elsewhere who believe this.
I got the same thing with Guantanamo. I mean, we take people that are terrorists, been down there, turn them loose, bring them back, let them go to their country so they can return to doing the same thing and planning the same things they did before. Now, see, from my perspective, God help me. And that's why Jesus is my straight back. I would execute all of them. I would. I just, because you get rid of the threat.
The only problem with Guantanamo, as you know, is that
I wouldn't have tortured them.
They were tortured, so therefore you can't try them in a civilian court
Yeah,
because
I
none
would-
of the evidence against them is
Yeah,
admissible.
yeah,
So you're not going to get a case
You're not
for
going to
them.
get a case for
So
them,
the
right.
so
And-
that was basically
But
the,
see, I
the
see
problem.
that as, I saw that as military. Yeah, and I think, and that's why military has different rules of trying people.
And not all of them were terrorists. Some of them were there as incidental observers.
You know.
So, Russ, it's
I
about a
know, I
question.
hear you, I hear you.
Russ, as a holy man, what's the value of a
Oh,
human
and
life?
I don't want to get wholly into it.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well, no.
It's a moral issue.
Yeah, as a holy man, okay, I'm in real trouble. Okay, you threaten my own. As a holy man, guess what? The only thing I can do is do the defense of that. And I have a right as a holy man to defend my own. Now, the definition of my own, whether if I'm an American citizen and everything else, include the population of the United States of America, or it includes my immediate family, however that may be personal. But as a holy man, I believe, as a holy man, that I have the right, the absolute right, to defend my own by any means necessary. By any means necessary. And if that is eliminating the other side and that threat, I'm going to do it. That is where I am as a holy man. Okay? Now, obviously, I said defend my own. That means I have to have an action against. Okay? That's why I'm one of those guys that I'm not able to take a threat because of the lifestyle I've made. You know, I've had people say, well, I'm gonna kill you. You say those things to me, you better watch out. Okay, you better watch out because all the people I grew up with they meant it. 66 guys died in the Italian wars, in the gang wars of Matt. 66 of them, okay? Some I knew, some I didn't know. 4 of my friends. Okay, they got blown away. I got a guy who got blown away because he was a friend and said, I don't want to be involved in this. He didn't want to be involved. And he went outside the bar and in the back room and they blew him away. Yeah, you didn't want to be involved? Yeah, you are involved. You made a choice once. And this was over. You know what this was over? Nothing but an insult to some stupid woman up in Peabody, Mass. It was disgusting. And a bunch of his assassins and stuff. So when people threaten, I go, look at me, I'm on TV and my buttons are pushed.
We did a good job of that, yeah.
Yeah, you did,
Well,
you both did, you both did.
Well, but part of the issue is redemption. Now, he was 19 at the time. He's 21 now.
Oh, I know the brain theory too. I mean, you know, Miller versus, you know, I mean, I just worked my rear end off for 1.5 years to get the sentencing structure done on life on, but and I understand.
But so can Zarnetics can be redeemed. And then you get into the Muslim religion and its belief in that. It's not Christian. These are not easy or issues. They're not. It raises a whole level of a level.
I don't like the religious aspect being brought into any of these things. Killing is killing. I don't like you, I kill you. No.
There's not a
If you're in a
religious
war-
aspect to the law?
Huh?
There's not a religious aspect
Well,
to
of course that's the problem. Doesn't mean there's a lot of problems in there, and how you I mean, gee, 'cause I end up sounding like Scalia for crying out loud here, in my interpretation of whatever it is. But I think there's a very different thing when you have a military action and you're dealing for differences or whatever versus this kind of stuff. The terrorist stuff. However, I also, as a student of war, understand the use of that. I guess that's my problem. I guess my real problem is I understand that kind of stuff too well.
He did a terrorist act, but was he a terrorist?
Well, see, that's exactly right. That's exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
And if he isn't, he's tried in the wrong court. That could be.
That could be.
See, now, yeah, as we discuss this, obviously this is emotional, and as we discuss that, but you're right. If he was a warrior, he's in the wrong court.
Yes. And if he was a warrior,
Yeah.
who did he answer to? I mean, well, all that we know is that presumably that he and his brother were radicalized by their mother, who is big. Mother's a crazy case.
See, we're going to get, my poor audience is going to get carried away because we could end up talking about the lone wolf and all this stuff, and I'm going to lose them because they are not. I could lose a lot of my audience because they may not know what we're discussing here. When we talk about war and military, you got three guys here at the table that are students of history, of wars, of Sun Tzu and all those individuals. You got at least two of us, military, okay, gang leader, okay, and operative. So when I could lose my audience when I said, yeah, who is responsible for a lone wolf's act of terrorism? A lone wolf is somebody who operates under an ideology. Okay, for those who don't understand what I'm saying. And it could be Christian, could be Muslim, could be whatever ideology, and they think they're operating on the ideals, and they execute stuff without having a leader or anybody they're responsible to, and they operate alone. Okay, and that's but they believe they're operating for the greater group that they represent. How's about that? Is that pretty good with the lone wolf?
Yeah.
Am I good?
Okay. McVeigh was a lone wolf.
But the wider picture of
Maybe not.
the
That's
Chechen,
another.
Chechen
Right.
problem, that was a major conflagration by the Russians suppressing the Chechen people.
Exactly.
I mean, they slaughtered.
You're talking
hundreds of
genocide.
thousands.
Oh yeah,
Almost
genocide.
genocide.
All genocide. Almost pretty close. If it was, don't we term that as being a genocide? Whatever happened there, with the amount of killings that happened there. I mean, historically, I mean that's didn't even the Pope say that, I believe.
But the train, the pathway to a connection to what's happening in the Middle East now, so what's happened over the last 20 years, is clear. It comes through the Islamic faith. It comes, to some extent, it also has roots in the continuing disaster that is the Palestinian problem, vis-a-vis Israel. These are not unconnected, and there's. If you have an Islamic, military option or a military situation, America goes in with 500,000 troops and totally obliterates it. Any resistance. So therefore, just like they've done before in the past, the best, the Sun Tzu. And Mao's books on how to defeat.
It's how to defeat it.
Exactly the same thing. Same thing that General Dieppe did in Vietnam.
Right.
And that is, it's a terrorist.
It's a terrorist act.
It's a terrorist act.
It's a terrorist act.
And now you have this growth out of that of lone wolves. In other words, that nobody controls them.
No. Except
nobody controls them.
They're controlled by the ideology of what they believe.
Encouragement
and they
from
get
the center.
Yeah, from the center. Like
do
these writers.
whatever they can.
Yeah, well, there's these writers that are on the damn internet, okay, egging them on. And you're right, and now you're going to get me too, right, making heroes out of it. But this guy's a hero already. Whether you kill him or not, he's a hero. Osama bin Laden was a hero.
He's a hero
to
some. We don't
some.
want to make a martyr.
We don't want to make him martyr.
He's a hero to some, but
Did
he's
we
not.
make
He's
Osama a martyr?
Oh, for sure.
to some. In the Islamic world, yes.
For sure.
Like, do you think anything would happen different if we didn't? He'd be sitting someplace giving orders?
He was pretty well isolated. He was
Giving
pretty well
orders.
isolated.
Yeah, he was isolated, still giving orders. So in his cell, he would probably have better access through his lawyers.
Oh, he was he was certainly communicating, but
Yeah.
very, very, you know, it was very difficult.
I know. This is, I mean, this is a great discussion. I love this kind of, you know, obviously. I
To
don't
some
know if I'm-
extent, that, you know, to some extent, that the guy in Baghdad who was in charge of it, I think it was Baghdadi.
Yeah, whatever, like, yeah.
When the Americans were fighting the war,
Right.
or the conflict, it isn't officially a war.
Whatever. We don't have
Osama
wars
bin
anymore.
Laden thought he was just basically a thug. He was, you know, he wasn't a very intelligent man, and he was nothing more than you know, just a local sort of,
Yeah.
you know, criminal basically,
Yeah.
and you know, so the connections with that are there. They are attenuated, but they're definitely there, and you can't. But the thing is, you can't bring that into a court of law in America, and he's essentially stateless.
Yeah.
He may be American citizen, or he may be American, may have a green card, but essentially he's Chechen, but he's fighting a cause which is bigger than just Chechnya.
Yeah.
No, I believe he was an American citizen, but
He was?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's all, you know, we want certainty. We want moral certainty. And when you and as a journalist,
Right.
I want the facts.
Yeah, I know you do.
I want detail.
Right.
I want clarity. Some things there's no clarity. You know, I can draw two different conclusions from the same, in this case, from the same set of information. One says he should be put into this little concrete hole in the wall for the remaining aspects of his life, and that will satisfy the need for punishment in society. I can also draw the conclusion that what he did was so heinous that his life should be terminated, because given the set of circumstances, there is no redemption. He would do it again. There's both valid arguments.
Right.
That's the problem.
That is a problem. You're right.
They're both valid arguments of the same set of information. Now, what complicates the matter is the more that we evaluate what's going on legally, is that a lot of the things that we believe to be true about the validity of evidence is not necessarily true. That we believe that the innocence of or that the people in law enforcement and others are playing it straight. We know that they're not always playing it straight. In the case of the FBI crime lab, they were not playing it straight.
Well, yeah, again, but I don't see that. I don't see that in this situation.
Not in this situation,
Okay.
but
you're-
death
but you're
penalty,
right.
death
Yeah,
penalty in general.
As we look at the death penalty in general, you know that I'm in complete agreement with you. I mean, that's why I voted against the death penalty here in Connecticut, because of the operation, because of all the complications, because of that. And again, on an overall level, I'm in agreement with you on the death penalty. Again, as I said, and I need to clarify, I always clarify myself, terrorism rises to a different level. I see a big difference. See, you compare what he did with what's his name? Hernandez did, and I see them as two very, very different things. And I see Hernandez's stuff is very personal, very, very tied into the gang-related bull crap and personal within the gang, and within that, and I don't necessarily believe those individuals that were killed were innocents. Okay, much like I would say if I did, if I was involved in my own gangland stuff, we were all personal. The gang wars of Boston were not bringing in, all of the individuals had criminal subculture society. Nobody was going out and killing some poor lady and baby and something like that. That's not what they were killing each other over personal vendetta stuff. And I see that very different than if you went and you blew up somebody, okay, that had nothing to do with anything, and I think even if I did it, they can execute me because it shouldn't have happened.
Yep.
No
But
more
what Mike
sense,
and but what Mike and I are
that's the
saying
way
is,
I look at it.
yeah, but what Mike and I are saying is that Hernandez's case is pretty much cut and dried, and other than the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills and New York Jets happy that they took out the star wide receiver for the Patriots. In the Tsarnaev case, it's in a bigger context because it is in the war against terrorism, and
Exactly right.
and so it has international implications.
Yeah, well, I'm
But-
glad I don't have to decide this. You may all be glad I don't have to decide this.
I'm glad that I don't have to
And you-
decide it.
Okay, but we have a judge that's going to decide this.
We have a jury that's going to decide it.
Oh, he gave it to the jury. Well, he could override it. He can override the jury, right? In the federal court, I believe so.
I believe so, but
We'll probably go with the jury. And once the jury gets a hung jury, then they'll throw it to the
Oh,
judge.
it's got to be 12.
Huh?
it's got to be 12.
Oh, it's got to be a unanimous.
Yes.
Unanimous and a 12-man jury in this thing.
And a jury that's been impaneled
All
now
you need
for.
is one guy thinking like Mike, and he's not gonna go to the death penalty.
The thing is, you don't know what I think.
Well, I was just gonna say the other side of it. You got me there. You don't know what you think.
Well, you know what
I don't know what I think. I know what I think. I think.
Yeah, I said Mike. Where I was pointing.
Okay, yeah, him.
Well,
Well, to me, it's just, it's life.
and we just go through it and throw the sucker away
That's it.
for the rest of his life.
That's it.
I wish I could come to that. I really do wish I could come to that. Okay, and I just I haven't made that leap yet. And then part of that is my own prejudice and my own, my own experience, and I just haven't been able to say that. Although I did put to rest a lot of my own vendetta feelings about people and said that's it.
I actually remember
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I remember the arguments at the time in the sort of late 60s. It was repeated in the 70s as well because it had to be renewed, and Thatcher even, didn't even change that. And basically it boiled down to whether the state should be in the business of revenge or just punishment.
Yeah. And remove the emotion from the crime.
Retribution is one thing, revenge is another,
is
and
another.
justice is, justice is what the law allows.
I got a minute. I'm on the thing.
Yep.
Always another great show. You and I have had 3 great shows over the last couple of days. Michael, always good to have you back. I got both mics here. We got to do more of these, okay? I hope my audience likes it, okay? I got to say goodnight, and I got to say goodbye, okay? And bless you all. And please, as I always say, you pray for me, I pray for you. I need more prayers than any of you out there. Okay, so please help us out. And all the 6 people I talked about on the beginning of the show, please. And we'll see you next week. Okay, God bless, and they can run the street.